A warm welcome once again to the High Performance Human Podcast. It's Andy here, and today's guest is a lad that I've known for a wee while now. How long have we known each other for?
I think just before lockdown.
Was it before? I thought it was longer than that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Before, about a year before lockdown.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, seems like a lot longer than that because Jonathan Creek is the owner, founder, and head honcho at Virable. Now, he is an expert in everything to do with influencing, particularly via media. He is a best-selling author. He is a keynote speaker. He is a hockey dad as well, of a wonderful set of Cubs. And my word is, this guy, one of the best things that I like about Jono, and it's something that I don't think I've mentioned to you before. One of the things that I've always liked about Jono is one of the first things that really struck me about Jono was the fact that two things. One, you are tremendously observant, which helps when you're in the reporting world, when you were a former news reporter and all the rest of it. Tremendously observant, but it's obvious that you take in the information that people say to you. Yeah. Like, it's, you know how some people, you're talking to them and it's like falling off their face or whatever. With you, you can tell that you are focused on this one conversation.
Yeah, I got a sticky brain, mate.
Sticky brain.
A sticky brain.
Jonathan Creek, welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the High Performance Human Podcast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I was really looking forward to that intro because I listen to your episodes and you do great intros. So I want you to send me that clip because that's all. I'll just stop just there. That's all we need. We're done.
I'm priding myself on it, man. Now, I'm really interested in having a conversation with you for a number of reasons. And I've been wanting you on the podcast. I drew up a list of people that I knew that I wanted, that I was like, right, I know I need to have these people on my podcast. And you were, I think, number 4 or 5 on that list when I was banging them all out. Wrote this big list, and you were towards that top section of the list. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the pillars of high performance for me is the influence side of things, which is something that you have a tremendous amount of knowledge about, right? So that was one of the obvious reasons. But the candor with which you speak your mind and your thoughts and your knowledge and your awareness is something that I think is going to really, really resonate with a whole bunch of people, because you have sort of come into predominantly the real estate space, but you've been working with lots of other businesses as well. But with the real estate space, you're almost, someone like you is coming to an industry where you're almost dealing in a crèche. Like, they are the toddlers of the influencing world as far as I'm concerned, right? And so you being the big teacher sort of thing is coming into a space that is so tremendously naive around this whole world of influence and going viral and the science and the education and the knowledge around it. Because we just, in real estate land, we just think we can just show up, put a big smile on, and Robert's your father's brother, right?
Yeah.
But as we know, and as you know acutely, it's a whole load different than that. But before we crack on and we start talking about influence in more detail, Jono, give the listeners a bit of an MO, a bit of an elevator spiel and a genesis as to who you are and what got you to this very point.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Number 4 on the list, what episode are we up to, can I ask? Sorry.
I think you're going to be episode 40.
Gee, I slipped, man.
You didn't slip.
I slipped 10. What happened?
It's
No, I
I
knew I'd be on that list, and I was watching these episodes come out, and I'm like, man, I'm below her, I'm below him. Come on, I thought I was better friends. I was just dropping down the list. I was like, man, what's going on? What have I done?
I needed to save some of my trump cards for later on in the series.
No,
right?
that's okay. Get the bad ones out of the way early, and we'll get going. But
indeed.
Sorry, I'll stop mucking around. My background. Well, I grew up in Melbourne, middle class, white bread, Vegemite kid. Great life in the 80s in Australia. If you weren't here, you missed probably the greatest era in this country, in any country. It was just freedom. Everyone was happy. Everyone was mates. There wasn't any troubles in the world. I grew up in a street where I think at the age of 8, there was like 18 or 20 kids under the age of 15.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were a gang. We could walk in and out of anyone's houses at any time. If you just happened to be at someone's house at dinner, you could eat their dinner or you could go home for your own. You could choose. You know, it was that sort of lifestyle. It was wonderful. And from that age, I had this really influential guy living next door. He was the postmaster, the local postman. And he didn't have a son. He had a daughter. And I sort of became his little mate. And, yeah, he knew all the news around the street. And he'd get all the news from the parents. And so then I sort of saw how he became like the listening post of the street and had like an influence over what was going on. So I sort of started to mimic him, but at the kids level. So I'd get all the kid information, he'd get all the parent information, and he and I'd get together and would sort it all out. And, you know, I just loved having information. You know, I just love knowing stuff. And you pointed out earlier that I've got this almost annoying ability of observation. Like I see the finer details in things. And, you know, as a journalist, I remember being on different jobs. I fast forwarded a little bit, but I ended up being a journalist. But I'd stand at stories and I wasn't there for the social pack of the media pack. I'd be looking at who's moving here and where and everywhere. And
that's what it is with you. You see the story below the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's
mint. I love it.
Everyone who talks to me or gets to know me all point it out. For me, it's just normal. But yeah, it's just something I've always had. Even as a kid, you know, I'd be able to know who was doing what. You know, almost reading human behaviour. Fast forward, I ended up going to Melbourne High School, just here in Melbourne. That was a great experience for my life. If I hadn't got into that school, I probably wouldn't have finished school, wouldn't be here. That was incredibly influential for me. I got into university. I did an arts degree. I was set to go to Monash. I transferred down to a country station, a country university, so that I could work in the local media. Because I sort of sat there and went, the country news stations don't have any staff or money. The city ones have hundreds of applications every week. So when everyone's zigging, how can I zag?
Yeah.
And so I convinced my parents to allow me to go to Monash down in Gippsland, just so I could work at the local TV station. Because from the age of about 14, I just wanted to be a news reporter. And not a sports reporter. Everyone's like, be a sports reporter, be the next Eddie Maguire. No, I actually wanted to be a war correspondent because I wanted to tell the best stories. I wanted to tell the most emotional stories.
Yeah.
That's what gets me. I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah.
So I went to the country. I did university. I started doing sociology, human behavior, psychology, and then threw marketing into it because I had to pick up a different. I'd failed a few subjects. So I had to stay a bit longer. So rather than just sitting there and doing two subjects, I thought, well, I'll fill my time with a different degree. So I picked up marketing and found a real link between storytelling and marketing. And you know, really it was really preempting where we are now with social media is that, you know, how do you weave storytelling into your marketing so your ads don't look like ads? And I started to do that through television. I did a cadetship down in Tasmania, lucky enough to get a TV cadetship. That then saw me move to Channel 7 in Adelaide, where I started working on a show called Today Tonight, which was less news. News is 90%, they give you the facts, and then you're 10% creative. Today Tonight, which is like a current affair for those who don't remember it, is 80% creative, 20% facts. Right? And yeah, it was all about, you know, that time slot when those two shows were going against each other, Today Tonight and A Current Affair. It was the most competitive time slot in Australian television ever.
Right.
And it was all about who could get the most views and hold attention. And you'd monitor the ratings minute by minute. And if your story was on when people started switching to the other channel, you know, you had to answer for it because it was a cutthroat business. And so I started to become really attuned to how my stories were working in terms of story frameworks and when were people dropping off and all the stuff that people do every day now on YouTube, but I was trying to do it on TV. And then the internet came along 2007, 8, 9. And, I just started to become fascinated with how that was changing the consumption behaviors of people with content. And the barriers were no longer expensive. Like you go to Channel 7 and say, give me 10 minutes of your time to put my video on there. They'll charge you a fortune. You can go to YouTube and do it for free. And so I started playing around with the internet influencing my stories, which not many people know. No one at Channel 7 really learnt about it. But I was using Twitter to set jokes or challenges in my stories to engage the internet audience. So, for example, I did the colour story for the AFL Grand Final one day, which is all the car park stuff and the mega fans and all the crazy stuff happening outside the ground. And someone sent me a challenge on Twitter to use the name of every Spice Girl in my story that went to air on Channel 7.
Amazing.
And I got it. They're Baby, Ginger, Posh. And so you watch this 2-minute story on Channel 7 and the people on the internet are going tick, 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 and they thought it was amazing and it started to grab traction. But back then, those stations, they didn't even want you on the internet as a reporter. And so I had a YouTube channel that had all my stories on there. They made me shut it down, get rid of it. But I just had this itch, man, that, that was the future. TV was an old model. It just wasn't going to work commercially. And so I just started studying viral videos. Why do videos go viral? And I was doing that so that my news stories would be better. Like these guys, I've got an endless budget. I had a black Amex. I had a cameraman being paid 6 figures. I had 2 producers. I had access to a helicopter. I had everything. And I'd get in that show, maybe, that show would do 800,000 viewers a night. But there was kids on the internet with their dad's handycams doing 1 million views. And I'm like, what are they doing? What is it? And so I just started searching that, and that was my journey. By 2013, I just said, I've got to do this full time. I had such an itch that I left and just started studying viral videos. I wrote a formula which measured the connection of content with humans. It's called Spread Factor. People tick a box, and we're doing it like market research. Big banks and stuff would bring us their videos for Facebook and say, is this going to spread or not? And we'd say, well, let's get your key demographic in a room and tick a box. That's do the scorecard. If it scored over 80 out of 100, we knew it was going to spread. 87% likely. It's a troublesome 13%, but that's humans, right? And then that led to the book. That led to a TEDx. It was my first ever public speaking, keynote speaking gig was a TEDx. So why not start there? And that led to a book and then into places like real estate, finance, automotive, and to this seat right now. It's been awesome.
There's a stack to unpack with that.
So much, man. I'm sorry.
So much to unpack with that. That's so really, really very, very cool. Now, before we crack on, though, a couple of traditional questions. One of them is wanting to know what your definition of a high-performance human is. Now, for me, 4 elements being success, connection, influence, as I mentioned before, and happiness. And they're an ecosystem where not one can survive without the other, right? Now, what's your version of high performance, especially coming from the world that you've come from?
Yeah, it's interesting, as a TV reporter, and that was for 20 years, in television. And I know Maz Farrelly says this as well. You're on the front seat of unique humans when you work in television.
Yeah.
Like it's a honeypot for unique, high-performing people. Not always positive either. I used to work on the Gangland Wars, and those guys were, they were high performance in what they were doing. It didn't fit within the rules, but man, they were going for it. And they made a thing of it. But I thinking about this question, it was really interesting. I think that I used to look at high performance people, and I'm talking presidents, prime ministers, top athletes, music stars, like all these sort of people. And I used to get a bit annoyed by them because they'd have an edge, almost like a selfishness edge to them. And the older I've gotten, the wiser I've gotten, the more that I've been running my own business. It's actually not that at all. It's a clarity.
Okay.
It's a clarity that they have that this is where I need to go, and I don't have time for anything else. And so you want them to sit down and have lunch with you and be your friend for a bit, but no, they've got things to do. And so for me, I think what you're talking about in your question is really interesting, because high performance human means a lot to me. Because I've seen people who have had incredible success, high performance in making money, but not high performance in being human.
Exactly.
Right. So for me, the high performance for me is people who have a clarity and a calmness. They really have a calmness about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't have to prove to anyone who they are or what they are. You know, you'll go to parties, particularly in real estate, and you'll get the loud, annoying ones, and they're the guys who can't pay the bills. Right? It's the ones sitting in the corner who are very within themselves and calm and attracted. They're the high performers who have the knowledge and they're willing to share it. And so for high performance, for me, is someone who is, I like your 4, but I really just think it's someone who's consistent regardless of the bumps in the road.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you mentioned at the start of your definition there. They have a clarity. And because you're absolutely right. A lot of people that are high performing individuals, the perception is a selfish one.
Yeah.
It's a really selfish one. But you're spot on.
It's misinterpreted by a lot of people.
Absolutely right. It's a misinterpretation because they don't owe you anything. And yet for some reason you feel that they should just because they are performing at a higher level than where you're at. And the reality is they're on their journey. And
it's the edge that gets them there.
Yeah. And
I've ridden bikes with Cadel Evans. Right? He won in the Tour de France. I was lucky enough to go for a ride with him on the Great Ocean Road. And I was cycling back then. I wasn't in this shape. But he has it too. We spent an hour on the bike together. And it was like, no, I've got to go. I've got to go do another 4 hours.
Yep.
That was nice. Thanks, mate. Bit slow for me. Off I go. And at the time, I was like, oh, man, I'm just about to promote his new muesli bar and his, his brand, and I'm giving him all this stuff. But now that when you look back at it and I've got more attuned, these guys and girls across all of them, they're just so focused.
They really are. They really are. They've just got a clarity in a direction.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Yep. And
Love
so when you meet people like that, don't resent them. Learn from them. Because most of our lives, most of the people that anyone will interact with aren't high performers. They're unique. They're unique. Most people like to be comfortable. And so, you're used to people having time for you and wanting to goof around with you and wanting to, play video games with you or whatever. And these guys may play video games here and there, but they've got time allotted for it. They're so organised. They're so clear, and they're just so ready to go. It's I love watching them and being around them.
Now, I want to dig into your extensive knowledge in this whole space of being influential and being viral. In a positive sense, of course. Because when I've been banging this book together, and I've really been doing a lot more studying around influence, reading lots of research papers and psychology papers and so on and so forth. And one thing that I think is the conversation that needs to happen a lot more often right now is the fact that influence is really, it's a misinterpreted, and it's not being seen in the way that it should because of the commercialization, the monetization of it in the modern sense due to social media and whatnot. Being an influencer means to be, tits and tan and batting your eyelids and getting your six-pack out and then holding a little product or something like that, right? In order to, and then selling that. And the reality is influence and being viral has been about changing worlds. It's been, traditionally speaking, back in the day, all of the most significant things that have gone on in the world have started with an influencer of some description. And you popped into my head the other week when I was listening to something that Mr. Beast put together.
Yeah.
And he said, look, man, I could start a YouTube channel tomorrow with an anonymous account and rack up 20 million subscribers in a year or whatever he said. I can't remember the exact time frame. Without people knowing that it's him. Because he believes it's very formulaic. And you've mentioned that you've put an equation together for this. So a lot of people seem to think that influence is like a divine right. To be an influencer, you have to be good looking, or you have to have this, or you have to have that. Does your brain make you believe, or from your research, make you believe that anyone can be an influencer?
Yeah. It's there for everyone. It's a science. And the biggest mistake that gets made is that people think that they have to be like other popular, successful people
100%.
in order for them to be successful.
Right.
We see it in real estate all the time, right?
100%.
They have sales meetings on Mondays or Tuesdays where they read out who's doing what, who's sold what. They know who the big number people are. They know who's struggling. They rank them 1 to 20, right? They do it. You put a young lion in that den, bring him to the table, first year out into real estate, he's going to look at the Lion King. So what's the Lion King doing? All right, for me to go from here to there, I got to be him.
Yep.
They start faking it.
Yep. 100%.
Right. They start faking it. It only lasts so long before you get found out. Social media now, it's no longer, it used to be that content was the king, right? They say it all the time. Content now is worthless because anyone can make it.
Yep.
AI can do it. All these influencers, all these Instagram influencers are all cooked. Gone. It's dying off because now I can create an AI version that looks better than them. I can change things on. I can give him bigger pecs or bigger muscles or smaller pecs, smaller muscles, just with the click of a button. And unless you're an absolute pixel pirate, you're not going to really be able to tell whether it's AI or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my daughter was playing me a video last night. I've got 2 daughters, as you said, hockey kids, beautiful, high performers in their own right already in terms of sport. They were playing me a video last night on TikTok of a girl wearing a skeleton mask playing the guitar, a Guns N' Roses song. It was amazing. It was like, wow, look at this. And then the youngest one said, yeah, but look, it's AI. Look at her fingers. There was one finger that was a little bit off.
Right.
Couldn't tell the difference.
Right.
And this is the thing, right? As we move into this AI space and we move into this thing, content's no longer going to be rare. You used to win on social media by just creating consistently because people would want content to watch, right? And so if you could make the content, you had a power. Now almost anyone can make the content. In fact, you don't even need a person. You can have a robot make the content for you. So it's going to be endless. We're going to get swamped. If you thought there was a lot of content out in the world now, we're just about to get a shit ton more.
Yeah, of course.
So the superpower now is going to flip. As I said earlier, right? I'm a zigger when everyone else is zagging. Right? It's going to flip. Whoever can be the most human, the most intimate. That's the one thing robots can't recreate, right?
Yeah.
They can't recreate you. So if you want to be high performance, be you. Do you. Don't try and be anyone else. That's your superpower. Your personality, your build-up, your life experience. That's where it comes from. I mean, we're looking at platforms now like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. You have to tick a box if your content's been influenced by AI. They know. They can tell. They watch it. They look at the metadata. They're looking more than just the pretty pictures. They know whether it's influenced by AI. I'm starting a movement now where I'll be stamping all my content with 100% human.
Yeah.
I'm going the other way, man. And anyone else can do it too.
Yep.
People are going to be searching for, it's going to end up like real estate ads. Here's a guy with a street record, friendly service, local expert, flick, just swipe through, don't want to watch. I know exactly what you're going to do. It's the same script as the other guy. Move on. AI content's going to be that. The difference is going to be in your individual creativity as a human.
So when we say that content is no longer king because of the flooding of AI content or form or generic content, shall we say, for the want of a better word, and you're suggesting that, and it, because the thing is, what you said there is I'm not debating is incorrect, but it's probably the one thing that is almost the most difficult thing for a lot of people to do is to be absolutely just to be human.
Yeah, it's hard. hard.
Why do you think it's so hard?
Societal pressures,
Mm-hmm.
ego, but it starts from school. It starts from school. You should think this way. You should, solve this problem this way.
Yeah.
That I can name a job, and you'll put a picture in your mind of what that person doing that job should look like.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Right? Policeman, soldier, politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is the thing. We're influenced so much in media. Yeah, we're at an age now where we only had 5 channels to watch, right? So we didn't have a lot of choice. So we had to, we'd watch a bit of television, but we'd go out in the street and deal with humans. Kids don't do that nowadays. Young adults don't do that nowadays. They're getting all their interactions off people who are pretending to be someone, right?
Yep.
So that's just driving the forces within them to also keep up. They don't want to show their flaws. What's going to be the flip is the flaws are going to be your superpower. The failings are going to be...
The flaws are going to be your superpower.
Yeah, because it's going to prove that you're human.
So the things that people fear people finding out about are going to be the secret sauce. They're going to be they're going to be the bits that will get them to where they want to be.
It's like fruit in a fruit shop, right?
Yep.
Apples from a farm. Supermarket apples don't have spots. Apples from your own apple tree have spots, and they're way better.
That's awesome. I love that analogy.
Right?
That's a mint analogy.
Yeah.
I love that.
But that's the magic.
So, with that in mind, but bearing in mind that the volume of content is like gonna go bananas.
Yeah.
How on earth is someone that, even if they become brave enough, because it does take a degree of being brave, to put their flaws out there, how on earth is it even going to be remotely a chance of being seen when the sheer volume of content is about to go exponential?
Yeah, well, it gets back to the viral formula, right? Spread factor that I wrote. That measures the connection of content to humans.
Right.
Right, because that's what the algorithms are judging that piece of content on.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how you feel about it as a viewer. They only know how you're reacting to it. So the key to success with content, whether someone's starting now or has already started, is how do you drive that engagement? Because the engagement is how you're measured on success. Now, here's the thing. The less produced you are in your content, what we find is the more engagement people get because they feel more comfortable engaging with something that feels like the person's just put up their phone and they're talking straight to you. If you produce that and polish it and you fly in with a drone and it's all smooth and whiz bang, instantly in our brains, because we're ad avoiding ninjas, instantly in our brains we're like, wow, there's an ad. They put some polish into this. So there's a distance then of what they call crossing the fourth dimension.
Right, okay.
So the way that you win is you become more intimate, produce less. Like I run a video production company, and I'm out here training car salesmen, real estate agents, and mortgage brokers how not to produce their videos. And they're sitting there saying, oh, but I can put this filter on, and I can edit this, and I can use this program, and I can get AI to do this. And I'm sitting there going, no, because every time you do that, it moves you further away from connecting with the person as a human.
Yep.
So the trick is to reduce the distance in the fourth dimension, cross that dimension, not increase it with editing and fluff and making it look good. The battle within the actual creator is that they think they have a brand or a status that they need to match with their content. Luxury brands, they're going to be the ones that suffer the most because they feel as though as a luxury brand, they have to create luxury looking content. Now that's not just to say slap something together and have bad audio and make it look trash and bumpy and so that people get seasick. It's got to have some quality.
Yeah.
But it's got to be smart and scientific in the sense that you're trying to connect to a brain and connect to them intimately so they care enough to share. because once you get that share, that's the biggest one out of all the algorithms. Yeah, the book's called Like, Comment, Share, Buy, right? That's the process you have to put them through. If you get someone to share it, the algorithms go crazy because you're recommending it with a data set, and then they go and find other people with that data set, and it starts to spread. So for someone who's starting out themselves and trying to get through that noise, the noise is to be yourself. And that, I know that's a weird, it's almost as overused as authentic, right?
Yeah.
I know you got a beef with that. I got it too.
Same basket.
Yeah, it's the same basket. I just said basket instead of basket. You're influencing me already. The trick is to just have conversations,
Yeah.
because that's what humans are missing now, because they're consuming all the time. They're not
Yeah.
conversing.
Yeah.
Where in the past, any other era in the history of the world, it was all conversations. That was how you grew and learnt and connected and got together, and we're a tribal beast. We used to live in tribes, but nowadays the kids, even the young adults, even people our age, my age, your age, we're different. I'm older, by the way. They're having their conversations virtually,
Yep.
but there's a difference when you're sitting across someone eye to eye.
100%.
And so the trick is, in your content, you got to try and recreate this as close as you can.
Now, this is bringing me to a question that I was going to ask you a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get to this point in our chat first. You mentioned when you were producing stories for TV
Yeah.
that you were really working hard to find out what it was that got more viewers,
Yeah.
right? And we've just then brought it to a more practical sense for people that are wanting to have an influence on social media and whatnot. And you've talked about how you need to, or what the formula is in order to create engagement. The line that generally for me gets crossed is when content is being created purely for engagement as opposed to following a purpose that someone wants to achieve, right? And the reason why I say that, and the reason why I want to challenge you with this, is because at the end of the day, you're correct. The science of it is based on the algorithms and so on and so forth, and that's absolutely agree with that. It's just true. But for a lot of people that are thinking about making content and being them, there will always be a bit of a contradiction in a lot of their minds, because they will be thinking, right, well, this is what I want to say, but what I want to say and who I am as an individual isn't necessarily going to get lots of engagement. So therefore, I need to change what I want to say in order to fit the narrative, the algorithm, because then it will help me to become viral and an influencer, which will then help me to get towards my purpose. But in essence, it's almost sort of diverging them away from their purpose. So where the fuck's the balance?
Yeah. So it depends what you want. What do you want out of the content?
Explain.
So what do you want out of the content? Do you want exposure? Do you want vanity statistics? Do you want to be able to walk around your friends and say, hey, I got 2 million views? Or are you using social media to build your personal brand and build a business based on relationships?
Right.
So, there's a science to this, and it's not a black or white science. It's you can tweak it however you want science, right? There's 100 different beakers in this, and you can put whatever you want in it. A great example is my TikTok accounts versus my YouTube accounts.
Yeah.
My YouTube account essentially looks pretty bad. Doesn't have tons and tons and tons of views. But I know for every couple hundred views I get on YouTube, I get a client. My TikTok account, I got videos on there that have got 500,000 views. 480,000 views.
Yeah.
0 clients. 0 leads. So what do you want?
So why are you doing TikTok then if it's not producing anything for your business?
Because it's fun.
Right. Okay.
because I do stuff. And, actually, it's really interesting. I did one recently. I think it's about 50,000 views, and a guy challenged me.
Right.
I was trying to sign him up to my business. I've got a coaching program where I work one-on-one. I help with script writing and ideation, and I build them. They work with me directly, and I build their profiles. And he was skeptical. He wanted to go and do your typical walkthrough, the real estate, 123 Wombat Crescent, 2-story, 4-bedroom, open plan living, stone bench top. He wanted to make those sorts of videos to grow his real estate business. And I was like, no, it's not how it works. And he didn't believe that I had the chops.
Right.
I said, I said, set me a challenge. And he said, I want you to go, I'll give you a day to make a video about housing or real estate, and you got 24 hours. And I want to see it get more than 1,000 views. That's what he said to me.
Okay.
No worries. The video was posted in 2 hours. Got on my electric skateboard, zoomed around my neighborhood,
I saw that one.
posted it, 40,000 views.
I was one of.
Right. That was it. Because it's all about picking what the zeitgeist, right? The mood of the moment. What's going on in the world.
Right.
What's the topic that I can hit? But you're just doing that for views. None of those 40,000 viewers are a client. I'd rather get 500 views on a video where I've got half a client. So if I do 2 videos at 500, I sign a client because that's business.
So would you say then, to that point then, would you say that probably the biggest mistake that gets made at the start of the process is a lack of understanding as to how and to what end you're creating content for? Because I think that the confusion...
People want fame.
Yeah.
And they give up because they think it sucks and they're getting judged by their peers because if they're making a real estate video and they're only getting 100 views on Facebook, they go, oh, it's not enough. I'm embarrassed. I'm only getting 100 views on Facebook. But as I say to them, you're having 100 conversations if you make the videos right. How are you going to make those conversations any other way? This is how you scale.
Yeah.
How are you going to make, put it like this. You're making videos that get 100 views, it's 100 conversations. Right? But if you go and get 1 million views, which is what most people want. They want to go viral. They want 1 million views. I convert at 1 in 1,000, right, clients. You go get 1 million views, what does that do to your business? What does it do?
Yeah, okay.
Everyone goes, oh, it's going to make my business amazing. No, it's going to kill your business. If you get 1 million views and you convert at 1 in 1,000 like me, and say you're a real estate agent or a car salesman or a mortgage broker, guess what's going to happen on the internet? Day one, what's the maths? 1 in 1,000, like 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is.
Yep.
Right. Day one, you're going to get 1,000 phone calls that you got to make because everyone's left a comment on your video saying, give me a call. If you're converting at the same rate as me.
Yeah.
1 in 1,000. By day 2, 99.9% of the people who've left comments haven't got their call yet. They're starting to get a bit edgy.
Yeah.
By day 3,
okay.
by day 4, by day 5, you haven't called them back.
Yep.
And then they start trashing you in your own comments.
Yep.
And their comments and their interactions just drive the video even further. So it damages your reputation and it kills you. People can't handle it. So the problem is they're letting their ego get in the way of stopping them from actually running a business using content online at a lower level. Like the high performers in real estate would be looking at maybe 700 to 1,000 views a video. That's it. Don't go for 1 million. 1 million will kill you. You can't handle it. You'd like to think you can, but in reality, you can't.
And this is where there's just such a lack of understanding. And it's why, vanity metrics, they're a killer for so many people.
It's a trap, man.
It is.
Trap.
Massive trap.
Yeah.
It's shit. It's a
Yeah.
shit trap. And
There's
I've
another trap.
fallen
There's
into it.
another trap.
What?
How long your videos should be.
Go on then, explain that one.
Oh, everyone, you go in the world. I go to events. I speak on stage like you do. And sometimes there are people speaking on stage saying this stuff, and I know I'm coming up after them. I'm going to obliterate them, right? Because I got the science. I've done the research.
Only
Right?
you
They've
could.
gone. Yeah, and I feel bad, man. I feel bad, but. Yeah, I've done my own science. I've done my own tests. I just don't go to Google and read a BuzzFeed report. And and they say, oh, humans' attention spans are shrinking. They're not. Humans have just got more choice,
Yep.
right? So if the content's crap, they switch. And when they switch, it means that video gets a short watch time because they only give it 8 to 12 seconds, right? But if you've got the ability to tell stories and use frameworks that hijack the brain and keep open-ended curiosity loops going, which is what we'll talk about and build and whatever, you can hold someone's attention until you trigger them to act if you're good enough.
Yeah.
The brain will invest the time to concentrate on a piece of content if the value is still there.
Yeah.
It's still worth the investment.
Yep.
The brain loves stories. It's addicted to them, right? So if you can tell stories, it'll stay watching.
Yep.
If you're bad at telling stories, they won't watch.
Yeah.
And so that statistics of viewing and watch time and stuff that comes out of the platforms, you've actually got to better understand the data. The data is telling us that there's just a lot more crap content out there that people are skipping over.
Yeah. Okay.
The average watch time on YouTube now that they want is over 10 to 11 minutes.
Right.
So your video's got to be no longer than 2 minutes and 17 seconds long because people can't concentrate as much anymore. It's not right.
So
It doesn't work.
why then are so many people buying into that bullshit? Why? What is it? Because it's just a common perception? Like, what is it that's making people buy into that?
It's easier.
Right.
It's the easy way out.
Right.
If I was to say, hey, Andy, let's go make I want you to go and make a 25-minute video. It's a bigger mountain to climb than a 2-minute video. Right?
But then,
But the other problem is you've got media managers as well in a lot of these businesses and stuff. And, some of them are really, really good, but some of them aren't.
Yeah.
Right? And they just sit there and go, oh, I'm bored by that. Yeah, I'm bored by that video. I'm bored by this video. Well, guess what? That video is not yours. That video wasn't made for you.
Yeah.
The reason you find certain content boring is because if it's engineered properly, it's probably not made for you. But then there's other stuff that you become obsessed with and want to watch all the time. I was only talking to my kids last night about Friends, the TV show Friends. We used to have to wait a week
Yeah.
to get another 21 minutes of Friends.
Yeah.
People would design their lives
Around Friends.
that 21 minutes of
100%.
content,
100%.
right? It was unbelievable. My kids are sitting there going, what do you mean? You have to wait a week. They don't get it. But my kids will sit there and watch 4 episodes of Friends back to back.
Yep.
They're not looking for 2-minute videos.
And but I mean, the interesting thing is, like, my own personal experience with it is that I actually find it ridiculously limiting. But at the same time, I've been caught rambling as well. So this is where someone like yourself would understand the difference between, that attention loop.
I'm not saying every video has to be long,
Yeah.
right? Make the video the length
That it needs to be.
that it needs to be in order to trigger an action. If you can do it in 30 seconds, good luck. Go for it. There are some that can do it, right? But sometimes you might need 10 minutes. And even if you just look at the way that these content, and the algorithm's nothing but a formula. Like, it's not a magic artificial brain. The brain's the humans on the other end. Put it like this: you make a 10-minute video for YouTube, and you have 10 people watch half of it. You got 50 minutes of watch time. But if you make a 20-minute video for YouTube and 10 people watch half of it, what do you got?
Yeah.
You got double.
Yeah.
So they go, that video's better.
Yeah. Right.
Even if it's a 5-minute video and they stop at 5, but you got 10, or they go to 7, you're still winning, even if they don't get to the end.
And this is one of the reasons why I needed to get Jono onto this podcast, gang, because the whole topic of vanity metrics, it's farcical because of the fact that the reason why vanity metrics has become a problem, and it has, in society, in business, in relationships, in emotions, and so on and so forth, all the stuff, is because of the complete lack of understanding as to what those numbers actually represent.
Yeah.
And So team, and this was the sole message that I wanted to get to with Jono, because you need to, if you are struggling to put content out there, or if you're struggling, is part of your purpose to get your shit together online and actually get stuff out there and have the balls to get out there, then realistically, the algorithms don't give a shit about your ego. And they will work according to what works as opposed to the emotions. It circles back to the very thing that Jono said right at the very beginning, which is AI is going to be creating so much content, it's not even funny. Mm-hmm. The gold's going to be in the human bit.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that you are believing, and a lot of people believe that that is the bit that is going to let them down.
Yeah, that's the bit they're worried about.
Yeah.
And the problem is, a lot of industries, a lot of people think they're seeing AI as the shortcut.
Yeah.
It's going to make it easy for me.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like alcohol. It's going to just amplify the bits,
Yeah.
whether they're good or bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be the biggest problem in the future. And
Yeah.
they're going to know. And so the way these platforms work now is they're getting so much content that it's harder and harder to work your way in.
Yeah.
So starting a YouTube channel, you used to have to almost sacrifice the first 28 days. Post a video every day for 28 days and get nothing in return. It was like an earn your way in thing. It was like, come on, I'm going to make sure you're serious about doing this. Now, that's 6 months.
Right.
You're going to be putting content in for 6 months. So if you're taking this show, you're putting it on YouTube, it's going to be hard for 6 months, right? Because they want to make sure you're serious about it. They're testing you.
Right.
They don't have a shortage of content, right? But they've got a set audience size. There's only a certain amount of humans on Earth that have access to it and watch it. So they're making you work harder. So if you're based on vanity statistics, you're going to give up in 3 weeks if you get nothing in
100%.
return. So,
But the platforms haven't even acknowledged your existence yet.
not even on their radar.
Yeah. And that's
Because
got nothing to do with their people's ego. It's got nothing to do with people's ability.
No, or the content. Like
No.
the content can be great. I've found many amazing videos with less than 100 views on the internet. Yeah, there was a time in 2009 where I think I'd watched every video on YouTube. Channel 7 had bought me a BlackBerry phone, and I used to sit on stakeouts waiting for bad guys, in streets in dodgy areas, and all I do is sit there and watch YouTube on a BlackBerry. I think in the first month, my phone bill was like 30 grand in data, and I had to sit there and go, well, you gave me this phone, I didn't realize we were paying 5 cents per megabyte. And I'm sitting there streaming videos all the time. But thankfully, I think they came to a deal with Telstra where they cleared that out. But so that's it now. You'll never watch every video on YouTube now. So they're trying to work out who's serious about it
Who
and
wants
who
to
isn't.
stay the course?
Yeah. So, if you're thinking about this, you got to be, we spoke about high performers. High performers are consistent, right? They're consistent. So you got to consistently put out videos, and then all the videos put together become a catalog. And that catalog becomes your life story. And so rather than just telling people about stuff or telling people about how good you are, you've got to invite them along for the journey of your life. And even just saying that gives me tingles because that's where it is, right? When people get together like you and I, we haven't seen each other for a while. We share life stories.
Yep.
You can now do that online, right? And that's going to be the long-term commitment. That's going to be saying, hey, I want to tune into Andy's life. I want to know what's going on in his life. But I can't meet with you. You're busy. You're up in Sydney. I'm wherever. I'll just turn on your YouTube channel or tune on have a look at you on Facebook or Instagram and see what you're up to. Because we've formed a relationship and there's a level of care. Now, you can do that from business to customer as well. You should care. But you want them to care about you too in return.
Yes.
And if you craft the content the right way, you can get them caring about you. And then the referrals and the leads and, your net worth is your network, right?
100%.
That's how it works.
So good. Such a good chat. And I'm sure, gang, there's plenty of stuff that you got for your notes, but there's going to be a lot more intrigue as well. So make sure that you search up for Jonathan Creek. Have a look at his viral.com. Get his book because it's a cool book that helps to really dissect a lot of the stuff that we've spoken about today. Now, one last question that I always ask everybody is, in your pursuit of high performance, what is the one thing missing from your game right now, Mr. Creek?
Ooh, I'm reluctant to scale. Right. I've had a business, my whole thing was when I wrote this formula was to have a production company that only made viral videos. That's
Yep.
why I started researching the formula.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a production company that only worked with like Red Bull, Coca-Cola, Nike. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to be a frat boy that was in the middle of Jackass's highest, the
Okay.
peak, right? I just wanted to be doing that.
Yeah.
But I became obsessed with the science and the process, and it's in me. And so for me to scale, I've got to pass it on. So I think maybe I could be more consistent.
Yep.
I could do a better job at networking. I think for me, high performance is always that pursuit for better, to be better. Just thinking on my toes right now. So I'm always looking, what can I do next? What can I do better? What can I do better? What can I do better? And having that hunger. The moment you're not hungry, you got to find a different restaurant to eat at, I reckon.
100%. 100%.
But hey, there's 2 books here that I want you to give away to anyone that asks the best question
All
on
right.
the podcast.
I will. Thank you so much.
Right?
I will,
And
for sure.
you can post them out or get me to post them out, whatever you want to do.
For sure, we will. So, gang, make sure you get your questions in. Send them through to either my email, andy@andyreid.com.au, or make a comment on one of the various channels that this podcast is on, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or on my website. Jono, thank you so much.
Hey, man, it's been awesome.
It's been an absolute joy, as always, to spend a bit of time with you. Being long overdue.
Yeah.
Team, stay safe, healthy, happy. Thank you for joining me. This is a really practical episode, gang. And we all need a bit of practicality from every now and then. If you do want to get ahead, we can talk about it all we want. We've got to take action at some point. And this man here is a guy that can help you do just that. Take care, team. Look after yourselves and each other.